The PlayStation DualSense Edge is PlayStation answer to the Microsoft Pro Controller, as this is Sony's first Pro Controller that they have available in the market. But for something that costs $200, is this worth it? Well, let's pause and take a look at what competitors have to offer. Microsoft actually has two versions of their Pro Controllers. The first one starts at $120 roughly, and just gives you the base core controller, which gives you the capability to adjust the toggles, the triggers. It's fairly customizable, and you can add on stuff later on, like the paddle shifters in the back here, or paddle buttons I should say. And then you could go for the most expensive one, that is this one, the Core 2, but this is the one that costs $180, and it comes fully loaded with all the accessories that you need. PlayStation actually does give you a little more, as it has interchangeable back buttons, joysticks you can fully customize, customizable grips, and you have access to exclusive software. Something that third-party like customized controller companies tend to lack, due to the fact that Sony is the design and engineer behind the PlayStation controller. Nobody else knows this controller ins and out other than Sony. So it's the deep integration in software and hardware that you definitely want to consider when it comes to choosing between first party or third party. Now, with that out of the way, design elements. When you compare it against the standard PlayStation 5 controller, there's a massive difference. The texture feels extremely premium, noticeably more expensive than the standard included PS5 controller, and exclusively to the DualSense Edge controller is the function button that's in the front, which I'll talk more about in a little bit. So the travel case, PlayStation didn't skip out on any design elements. The case itself, it actually feels like it's the same pattern plastic material that's used on the controller itself. There's cool little Easter eggs here and there with PlayStation logos all the way around. And when you open it up, it's like a clamshell design. And similar to like the Xbox Elite controller, everything is just nicely organized. You have quick access to your paddles, to your additional back buttons you could add, the many different grips. But it actually has this unique locking mechanism right here, which you actually feed the cable through, which they do provide a braided cable. It's about 9 foot in length. And when you combine it with this locking mechanism, you simply just slide the cable in like so, and just attach to the PlayStation and just switch this toggle to lock. This makes sure that the PlayStation controller doesn't accidentally just unplug while you're in the match. So for those high intense tournament gamers with no frequency and lag, hardwire, there's zero lag, and this is guaranteed to give you a secure lock so it doesn't accidentally get unplugged during high intense tournament game. Now, interesting enough, there is a QR code right here, which when you scan it, will just take you to the PlayStation website where you can look for additional accessories for this controller, as well as like a bunch of how-to guides. That's basically it. This was really interesting to find out what that QR code is. Now, there's only two type of paddles to actually attach in the back, and two different styles. You can either do this paddle, which a simple tap will quickly tap the button, or you can do like a flat paddle, which is more traditional for like these type of modded controllers, which allows you to use your index fingers to just quickly toggle it, or you can use your pointing finger with the other toggle. It's held together magnetically, very similar to the Elite controller, and once you're done, you can just store it away, just like so. So you have preferences on different styles you like to choose from. Me personally, I actually do like these this weird half moon design. It's actually really convenient and pretty comfortable. And then yes, you could still attach the controller back in the travel case with those paddles attached to it. And once you store it away, this back portion can actually open up as it's held together with Velcro, and you have a quick access to the USB-C port in the back of the PlayStation controller to quickly charge it while it's stored away. So both triggers in the back feature stop sliders, so you can make the contact point to be quickly responsive. This is ideal for like first-person shooters because you could just pull the trigger on a gun quickly, travel time for the trigger to activate. The trigger itself also has some unique texture as well, as it has the PlayStation logo, which actually acts as a good grip for your fingers too, so you don't easily like slide out in case you're just repetitively just pulling out on the trigger. Now, a unique selling point about the DualSense controller is the fact that you can actually replace the joysticks. Unlike the previous or the standard PlayStation controller, if you experience phantom drift, you either have to replace the joystick itself by taking the controller all entirely apart, which is difficult to do, or just accept defeat and just buy a new controller entirely. This one you don't have to do that, as there's a quick release back here, which does require a two-hand operation to actually pop this portion out. But as soon as you get it out, you just simply pull out this middle lever on top like so, and then this just slides out. Unfortunately, they don't provide additional ones out of the box. You're going to have to buy these separately. So if later on down the line you experience phantom drift on one of these, that's how you can replace it. You just have to buy these individually, separately. And then if you're wondering, no, you don't have to actually remove this to change the grip, as these literally just pop out like so. It's plastic, unfortunately, so my concern is over time, wear and tear will probably take a toll of these. But once you place it back in, so far, it looks like it's going to stay on. But if you're someone who's constantly switching between grips, try not to do it so often, because I don't think this will be able to handle wear and tear very well. Now, before we go into the software side of things, let me just go ahead and talk about my thoughts and opinions on what I think about it. For a first-party controller, this is phenomenal. I'm glad PlayStation now has their actual first-party Pro controller. Just a couple things I wish they added, since it does cost $200, which is $20 more than the most fully loaded Xbox Elite controller. I wish PlayStation integrated some type of wireless charging capabilities, kind of like what Microsoft is doing with the Elite controller. This one I could just dock in place and it wirelessly charged, without me having to physically connect it to a cable, which is what PlayStation makes us do. Yeah, it's cool you could pass the cable through the case, but it still is being connected with a physical cable. Another thing I wish they'd done is increase the battery life capacity, because the battery life feels like it's the exact same battery life that I was experiencing with the PlayStation 5 controller, the standard one that comes included. So no massive battery improvement here. Yes, I appreciate the locking mechanism when I'm gaming, but I'm not really that competitive, nor do I think a lot of people will really care about this no latency whatsoever. Modern day hardware, it's actually really good, and I never really experienced any latency issues. And I'm sure many other people could also agree with modern day wireless peripherals. They're really responsive. The lock-in thing, I really see this more useful for little ones. I'm an adult. I'm sure many other people could also agree. I don't just randomly accidentally unplug my controller if I have to hardwire it. But everything else, I really do appreciate. I love the blackout buttons, which easily separates it from the standard PlayStation 5 controller. And even if you look down to the nitty-gritty details, it's obvious which one's a Pro and which one's a standard. And when you put the two on a scale, here's the weight differences. Yeah, it's slightly heavier, but this is the right amount of heavy that really does make this controller feel premium. Now, to the hardware, software side of things. So as soon as you pair one of these controllers to your PlayStation 5, you'll be welcomed with this cool welcome card. Here, it will automatically guide you through all the amazing things that this controller is capable of doing with the OS. And as soon as you're done setting up a profile, once you're done, by tapping the function key, this will give you quick access to select one of the 4 different profiles you're able to create for the controller. But this is also a quick multi-menu capability, as if you use the D-pad, you can actually adjust the audio. And there's other shortcuts this menu actually allows you to do as well. So if you hit the function key and the option button, this will quickly take you to the menu where you can actually create additional profiles. And once you successfully name the profile, you can actually go into the more detail right here. You can actually assign these buttons to be assigned to different things. You're also able to adjust stick sensitivity, your trigger dead zones, adjust your vibration motors, and the trigger effect intensity. It's all 100% customizable. My favorite feature is assigning buttons. Now, although it doesn't have 4 buttons but in the back of the controller, 2 buttons, in my personal opinion, is how much I was using on my Xbox Elite controller. And the PlayStation has that. It's super convenient, like swapping these buttons to do other things, like trigger commands to throw grenades and stuff. Instead of you having to actually take off your finger from the trigger and to quickly tap the grenade button. So that's one way I always like using the back buttons to my advantage, so that I don't have to actually take my finger off the trigger. I could just use an index finger that's underneath the controller doing nothing, but now I actually decided to do something useful and helpful that will actually make me win games, especially when playing Call of Duty. So my final thoughts about this controller, it's amazing. It's good. PlayStation did a good job on this. Just, I do wish they actually made the price more competitive, because it actually has less features and less qualities. The Xbox Elite controller actually is using aluminum, which feels extremely nice, especially when you're adjusting the little trigger sensitivity right here. This is just plastic. The Xbox, they actually are using fine materials. PlayStation just using glossy plastic, unfortunately, but again, feels a lot better than the standard PlayStation 5 controller. So, final thoughts, is this worth it? Yes and no. If you have the option to use the Xbox controller, I'll still recommend the Xbox Elite Controller Core over the DualSense Edge. Just the quality is just better and also offers a lot more. Oh, a little bit more, I will say. But in terms of software perks, both offer the same software capabilities. Just the Xbox allows you to actually customize the LED light. PlayStation doesn't do that. That's another thing that I noticed. Why I still think the Xbox is a better value in terms of their Elite Core controller, like for their Pro lineup, than the PlayStation Pro itself with their controller. That's just personal thoughts, but if you're on PlayStation, your team PlayStation, this is actually a must-have. It's a lot better than some other third parties because they actually tend to cost a little bit more than what PlayStation is asking. So for the PlayStation side, this is a good bargain. But if you're shopping around for a really good Pro controller, I'll highly recommend checking out the Elite 2. Aside from that, there you guys have it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you got some good useful information out of this video. If you did, leave this video a like, please. Get subscribed, and feel free to click on this video over here where I go more in depth about the Xbox Elite controller, and stick around for a comparison against the PlayStation 5 and the Elite if you're PC gaming. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.